Good morning, third graders. Today we are on page 205 of your student journal and we are on Unit 12, Lesson 2. So we are going to continue with what we started yesterday, talking about these picture graphs and talking about scales. And remember yesterday, sometimes the scale worked really well and sometimes it was a little trickier. But our goal today is going to be exactly the same. So for objective or goal, it's going to be today I will draw scaled picture graphs to represent data. Okay, so exactly the same. So hopefully by now we understand what the picture graphs are. And the scaled is that key at the bottom that says how many our picture or symbol represents. Okay, so in our vocab, we don't have really anything new today, nor do we in our steps. So we're just gonna jump right in and get some more practice in. So here's my first problem, and my first problem says, complete the scaled picture graph to represent the data. Room 3's favorite pets. And it says dogs 16, cats 14, and the title. So the title would be this. I could say favorite pets. So favorite pets might be a good title. Okay, so dogs, there's 16 of them, but this colored in circle tells me it represented 2 students. So if I do one circle, that stands for 2 of the people, and there was 16 total. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So if I count that, that means 16 people chose cats. Chose dogs. Cats, there should be 14 people. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Okay, so I filled in my graph, paying close attention to my scale, and now I'm going to answer some questions. Oh, I apologize. I'm going to answer some questions after I have changed up my graph. They're going to ask me to change this one up. Okay, so notice it's still room 3's favorite pets. And notice my dogs are still 16 and my cats are still 14. So my title is still going to be the same. But when I read my directions for this one, look what it says. Choose a new scale and graph the data. So they want me to choose something other than each colored in circle equals 2 people. They want me to come up with another number. Now, this is the hardest part about scales. When you choose scales, you really have to think about what's going to be easiest to draw and what's going to work. Now, you could always have a scale of 1, but that just means you have to draw a lot more. On this one, I'm going to purposely choose a scale of 4, and I will show you why. I know that 4 is a factor, which means I could use multiplication to get to 16. I know 4 4s equals 16. So that tells me 4 is going to work well for 16. It doesn't work so well for 14, but it's not so bad. So watch. For dogs, if I do one colored in circle, I have 4. Another colored in circle, I have 4 plus 4 is 8. Another colored circle, 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. And another colored circle equals my 16. And not that you usually put numbers, but I want to make sure you understand the 4 people. So there's my 16 people. Now, look at my cats. So my cats, it's going to be a little trickier. I have 4. Another 4 is 8. Another 4 is 12. And I need to just show 2 more. So how would I show 2 more? Well, isn't 2 half of 4? So that wasn't that tricky because I think that people will see that's half a circle. So half a circle must be half of the 4, which is 2. So I think the scale of 14 is, I'm sorry, the scale of 4 is not that bad. So you really have to think about what scale would work though, because I would not have wanted to choose a scale of 5. I'm going to show you a different one. What if I had chosen a scale of 5? And what if here my scale equaled 5 people? Watch how much harder this one would be now. Well, I could do 5 for dogs. I'm going to put a line there to show us that. Another 5 for another 5. So I have 5, 10, but I had 16. How would I show one more person? I would almost have to show like a fifth of a circle. But do you think someone reading that's going to really understand that very well? I don't think so. I don't think someone's going to say, oh, there's 5, 10. That must be one more person. I think that might be confusing for someone. And for cats, it would be the same. I made a mistake for dogs, ladies and gentlemen. I should have had another full circle. I'm so sorry. 5, 10, 15, and then one more. So for cats, I would have 5, 10, and then I need to show 4 more people. So again, I would have to show like a circle that maybe only shows 4 out of the 5. But I don't think people would read that very well. So that's the thing about scales, is you have to think about what's going to be the easiest way to write it. Okay, so let's look at mine. My questions, how many total students were surveyed? Well, if 16 liked dogs and 14 liked cats, that would be 16 plus 14, which equals 30. How many more students preferred dogs over cats? Well, that would be 16 minus 14, which equals 2. And why did you choose your new scale? How did it change your graph? So I chose my new scale. I chose a scale of 4 because I knew 4 was a factor, and factor means a number for multiplication, factor of 16. So that was kind of my easiest way to start with that. And how did it change the scale? Well, I drew less symbols. That was one way it changed the scales. When it was 2 people, you would have had to draw more of the symbols. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's try one together. Here is ours, and it says again, we're going to complete the scaled picture graph to represent our data. Here we have 3rd grade's favorite types of cars. So trucks is 15, sports cars are 10, mini cars are 25. So I think for our title, we could just say like favorite cars. Favorite cars. Okay, and a colored in circle equals 5 students. So for trucks, we could have one circle equals 5, another circle is 10, and another circle is 15. Okay, for sports cars, it says 10 people, so 5, 10. For mini cars, it's 25 people, so 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So look how nice a scale of 5 worked for this graph. It worked perfect. It was absolutely perfect. It was so easy to draw, and if someone's reading this graph, they're going to easily be able to say, oh, that equals 5, 5, 10, 15. Okay, that equals 5, 5, 10. Okay, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. it was not only easy to make it, but it would be easy to read it. Okay, let's look at the page 207. So now what they want us to do though is they want us to choose a new scale for the graph. Choose a new scale for the graph. So again, we have to think about what's going to work for this and what's going to be easy and what's going to be tricky. So I'll tell you, 3 is probably not a really good scale. So 3 would maybe work for trucks because 3 times 5 is 15, so 3 is a factor of 15. But 3 times nothing equals 10, and 3 times nothing equals 25. 4 would be a terrible idea because 4 times nothing equals 15. 4 times nothing equals 10, and 4 times nothing equals 25. So 4 is not a factor of any of these numbers. So 5 definitely was perfect for all these. I'm actually going to choose kind of a tricky one. I'm going to say we could do 10. Even though 10 is not a factor of these, watch what happens when we do 10 and it makes it not too bad. So if I was to do, let's do our title first. So favorite cars. So trucks, we know that it's 15 people, so we could do 1 full-size circle, which will give us 5 people. And if we did a half circle, there's our other 5. That's our 5, so that would be 10 plus 5, which equal our 15 people. For sports cars, it's just 10, so it would just be 1 circle. And for mini cars, it'd be 10, 20, and a half a circle. So I don't think the half circles are too hard to draw, so I think the 10 would have worked really well for that. Before we go on, I want to show you the other option that I think we could have done for this one is we also, and I'm going to do it in red because I just want you to watch, I could have also said a scale of 2. 2 would not have been too bad. So for trucks, I would have had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and half would be 15. For sports cars, I would have had 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And then for mini cars, I would have had to have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and then a half would be 25. So that would have worked as well. It just would have been a lot more symbols, and I still would have been stuck with these halves I had to draw. So this way, I still had the 2 halves, but a lot less symbols to draw. Okay, so our question says, how many total students were surveyed? Well, if 15 liked trucks and 10 liked sports cars, and 25 liked mini cars, then I would add those up and I would get a total of 50. How many more students preferred trucks over sports cars? Well, trucks was 15 and sports cars was 10, so 15 minus 10 is 5. And why did you choose your new scale? How did it change your graph? Okay, so I chose 10 because I knew I would be able to easily draw, and not only draw, but I wanted to represent, I wanted to show people, represent half circles. So I think that was why I did that, because I wanted to be able to represent those half circles, which I thought would be clear for someone to read. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you have quite a few pages to try today. You're going to be doing one on amusement parks and then changing it, one on summer parks and changing it, and one on winter activities and then changing it. Have a nice afternoon.